I took my responsibility toward these children seriously, and all my decisions were based on compliance with the law and maximizing Reading First's impact on children learning how to read.
The 16 panels, in your opinion, in your report, and matching them with the law, are out of compliance.
Correct.
I guess this is to try to come into compliance with the law.
Correct.
But it's not in compliance with the law.
No, it isn't in compliance with the law totally.
So the 16 subpanels on slide A are, in fact, continue to be out of compliance with the law, and they are used for the reviews that Ms. Lewis talked about. Is that correct?
Right.
So the panel that was supposed to cure the original violations of the law was never, in fact, impaneled.
Right.
Well, the question is why do we have these panels contrary to the law?
We thought then, and we think now, that our efforts did meet the law. So we certainly didn't have the sense in 2002, 3, 4, and 5 that we were not in accordance with the law. We really didn't.
Mr. Doherty, with all due respect, from day one you were out of compliance with the law by the makeup of the panels. You made a decision not to include nominees from the other 3 organizations.
Sir, I disagree. We really had a logistics issue, and we had nominees.
Mr. Doherty, we're talking about ethics, so your logistics overrode the law.
I respectfully disagree, sir.
Well, we asked you why this interest in noncompliance with the law is found by the Inspector General, and your answer is logistics.
No, I was trying to give some context as to how we put these panels together. First, we used the structure.
The panels were out of compliance. You agree to that?
I'm not sure. I then.
You read the Inspector General's report? Have you read the law?
Yes.
What's your answer again?
My answer is that we thought the panel configuration.
No, the question is, were you in compliance with the law?
I believe that we were. We simply did not have enough nominations from the other agencies to meet the demand if all of the applicants.
So you just went ahead and violated the law?
We did not think we violated the law. We worked very closely with the Office of General Counsel in order to satisfy the law.
Perhaps the IG has a better answer in his report. The senior advisor said, we can't uninvite her. We'll just make sure that she's on a panel with one of our Barracuda types. You still think your panels are in compliance with the law? You still think this was about evenly distributing people who might support or believe in direct instruction or any other kind, and that's all you were doing is evenly distributing people?
Yes, sir, I do.
I hate to be a stickler for the law, Mr. Doherty, but this law, as the Inspector General says a number of times, is pretty explicit with respect to some guidelines for reading first. But you say, we make absolutely no mention of this opportunity in the application because we don't like it and we don't want it to open the door to this. But it is the law, and it needs to be addressed somewhere reasonably official, like the guidance as the best compromise. So you threw out the guidance to the states. Ms. Lewis and others looked at this and said, this is the process by which we're going to work, and backdoor on your BlackBerry, you're undermining the integrity of the program. And what was your commitment to the law, and your apology is what? The mistakes were made? Because that's kind of a mantra in the administration.
As the email that you cited shows, I was being pressured for not being bold enough. I was being pressured in another email that the Inspector General cited for not being bold enough. And the directive that was given to me was to take such and such out. I indicated, as you read, that we were unable to do that.
That pressure came from whom?
From
you mentioned that in your opening statement.
The woman that you mentioned.
Ms. Newman.
Yes, sir.
Secretary, Assistant Secretary.
Yes, sir.
So she was asking you to violate the law.
As I say, turning the statute into a program, into an application, and into guidance involves judgment calls as to what goes where.
No, Mr. Doherty, maybe that's why the ethics standards in this program lapsed. You don't get to override the law because you're turning the law into a program. Agencies
I didn't mean to suggest that.
And nonprofit organizations and states struggle with this all the time. And they don't just decide at some point, well, we'll just violate the law. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that.
I'm sorry.
And in this case, as pointed out, twice in the law, that specific language is there. The department doesn't just get to ignore that.
I'm sorry if I suggested that I thought we were ignoring the law.
Well, you suggested that because of logistics, because of the time frame, because you might get 50 applications all at one time, you have a whole litany of reasons why you didn't have to abide by the law.
We thought then and think now that we did abide by the law.
We found that there were cases where the comments were changed, comments were left out, and there were additional comments added.
Is that allowed in the law? Was it discretionary, or is it allowed?
I wouldn't think it would be allowed, but I don't know if it's...
The panel reviews had specific duties under the law, as I understand it, the panel reviews. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I don't think it got that specific about what was allowed and what was not allowed. But I certainly...
So Mr. Doherty could have created this panel and not violated the law. He could have created this...
Definitely.
He could have done that without... He just created a fraud on terms of the states because they... I'm not asking you to comment. Because the states got a misrepresentation of what the panels
They did not get
concluded or thought about their program. And it's just amazing what you... your image of the law. I'm a little concerned, more than a little concerned, about the evidence that has been presented to us in the Inspector General's report. And I'm a little concerned that Mr. Doherty, in my opinion, that's my opinion, finds the law something to be worked around rather than worked with. The answer to violating the law isn't that people are happy with you. That's not a justification in the law. If emails tell you what a wonderful person you are, it's of little value compared to the law. But this implementation is very worrisome because I think you're very close to a criminal enterprise here. I don't know, have you made any criminal referrals, Mr. Higgins?
We have made referrals to the Department of Justice, and we'll be pursuing them.
Well, I have to tell you that just doesn't surprise me at all, because I think that this process was cooked from the very beginning. When it was suggested to you that there was an ethical problem, you didn't take the advice of the General Counsel's office. You went your own way. You chose to violate the law. You don't get to do that in this country, because people rely on the law. School districts rely on the law. Families rely on the law. People, that's what they do. And you don't get to override that. But the fact of the matter is that you did. That sounds like a criminal enterprise to me. That sounds like an inside job. Fortunately, I think maybe Reading First has survived that. But again, that's not the test. That's not the test for this committee. It's not the test for the IG. It's not the test for the department. The question is whether or not this program has been operated within the law. The IG suggests that it hasn't been, and strongly suggests that it hasn't been. I think when we put this evidence together, we may join you in those criminal referrals, because something's very wrong here. Something is very, very wrong when a small group of people can direct and engage in the activities that were engaged here on behalf of a few programs and browbeat states and browbeat educational officers in those states. Something's very wrong here. The suggestion that somehow this was all evidence-driven, that this was all scientifically studied, and that was the only concern, I have to think the IG has given us a record that suggests very strongly that pocketbooks and self-interest and future interest overwhelm the idea that this was to be somehow just scientifically based. But I dare say this is not how, in the land of laws, you get to that result. And I can't tell you how dismaying this is. This was a huge decision by the Congress to dedicate this level of resources for this particular purpose, essentially $1 billion rifle shot year after year, trying to meet the desires and the hopes of this nation that our children would reach reading proficiency at an early age. And to see that program scrambled in the manner in which you've done here is just unbelievable.